So you want to buy a franchise. You want to buy a boring business. You're following Cody Sanchez and she's got you all excited. But you know what? What is a franchise disclosure document and why is it very important to understand? We're going to have this conversation with the concierge of small business lending, the one and only Bo Eckstein. Bo, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Can't complain. Got a little bit of rain here in Vegas, but it's good. And then I actually just bought a truck. I bought an SUV, which was
Nice.
I bought it from Carvana,
Okay.
and I have kind of mixed reviews about buying a car you never went and saw. But I don't like to buy new cars. I bought a 2-year-old
Nice.
SUV because
Nice.
I don't want to pay retail for a car. I'm just sorry, it's
Yeah.
so expensive.
Well, if folks, if you don't know, Bo is expecting his first child here in a matter of weeks, months, I guess
Month,
months,
3 months.
months. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he's buying the SUV to make sure he's got the space to tote them around. But we digress. Let's talk about what Cody Sanchez is doing, getting all people excited about buying businesses. A lot of people are looking into franchise as kind of the cheater system to get in. But there is this document called the Franchise Disclosure Document. Why is it? What is it? And why is it so important?
Sure. So anytime some company wants to start franchising their concept, they have to submit and do legal documents, which is administered through the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, and there's certain things they can't put on, and it's almost like doing a syndication, right? Like
Mhm.
you got to put everything in writing. It could be 200 to 300 pages, but
Oh,
there's
wow.
essentially 23 items on this FDD, franchise disclosure document.
Okay.
Um, and so there's like item one, which is the franchisor, any parent companies and affiliates, they have to disclose. The big ticket items there to look at is item 19 is any franchise that's making any sort of financial claims. If they're making financial claims, they have to have an item 19. That's going to where they say their performance. So like
Mm,
I was I was reviewing so typically a franchise broker is not going to make any claims with you. They're going to
right.
connect you with the right franchise. But for
Okay.
example, one of the big kind of recession resilient hot brands right now is HVAC.
Mhm.
And if I was looking at their item 19 right now, just to give you an example, and sometimes it's crazy to see because remember, not all of them are. So this is a franchise concept, which this is as a startup, your initial range of investments between 128 to $224,000, depending on if you're running it as hiring a general manager. So this
Okay.
model could be an owner operator, or it could
Okay.
be that you hire a general manager from the onset.
And
So
just so I know, just so the audience knows, let's call it 200 because I think most people are going to hire a general manager that are following my channel. Um, is 200 kind of mid range, low, high? I have no idea.
so
Let's talk.
the reason why I'm an advocate of non-food franchises is because the overall startup costs are way lower. If you're doing a
Mm,
big build out, you could be spending $2 million building one of these
oh, yeah.
restaurant franchise models. So
Okay.
most of us who are W-2 and want to kind of progress and own businesses, whether we want to quit our W-2 or just bring in another revenue stream, we're looking at home service industries right now. That's why it's so
Mhm.
hot, because you can start these brands very cheap.
Right.
I'm funding a handyman loan right now. They're doing a franchise concept, which they're doing handyman services, and I think the total startup costs are about 120,000. That's starting with the working capital and everything. So you can really get
Wow.
started with 15 or 20 grand out of pocket and
Mm,
build in working capital. So that's why I'm such an advocate of certain franchises, because I think
yeah.
if you can follow the recipe, it's not like, I mean, there's failure rates, but
Oh,
but
sure.
but if you can follow the recipe, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
So
No, I love what we're doing here. I really think, obviously, real estate investing is great. It's a way to do it by this. But I also think something I missed was, buying and starting a business franchise or maybe buying a boring business is something that I want to start looking at now that I'm in Vegas more and more. Once this damn backyard's done, we can talk about it. I'll have you over the house and we can talk about options. But back to this item 19. It sounded like you had some numbers you were going to share.
yeah, so that's what I was trying to find here. So basically, some key factors here. The home service industry is about a $595 billion industry, which
Mm,
is a huge, huge number, right? And I'm trying to find what I did with that. There we go. This was pretty interesting. Uh, Average ticket price for a replacement, $7,700.
Sounds about
Average
right.
ticket.
I've replaced a couple. Sounds about right.
And so, yeah, and actually, if depending on where you're located, it's going to be plus or minus in a big way.
Mm.
So the top 25% of this franchise concept does $12 million in revenue, right?
A year?
Yeah, top
Damn,
25%.
son.
And this
Wow.
is, uh, but that's like crazy, right? So, but anyways,
Well, hold on. So, just the way once my brain hears numbers, it goes crazy. So you just told me my startup capital again, round numbers, 200 grand. You're telling me the top 25 or 1 in 4 of these franchises does 12 million top line.
yeah, but also I think what you'd have to dissect out of that is what's the failure rate,
Of course.
right?
Oh, we were
Like,
just getting started. Those are just the first 2 numbers. I'm with you.
yeah,
I got it.
yeah. And
Okay.
so typically, just to point this out to the viewers, if this isn't on the if this isn't on a on the FDD on section 19, they're not going to disclose this to you. We're just
Right.
talking generalistics today,
Of course.
but
Of course.
when you get into it, you would need to dissect it. But yeah, I mean, that is crazy. The third section's probably around $2 million.
Okay.
The bottom three. But the question then begins in my mind is like, okay, what's the failure rate of these franchises, right? Because there's going to be X amount of failure rate and closures. The
Right.
other thing is too, in the FDD, what you want to look at is you want to look at litigation, right? That's a
Any
big
open
thing.
litigation? Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to want to see what you're also going to want to see what the retention rates are. What are the retention rates of these franchise, right? If they have a low retention rate, it means that
Yeah.
these
Turnover or
numbers,
churn. Yeah.
right? So, but when you get that FDD, the important thing to do is to really read, even though it's a lot of pages, you're going to read through it because there's certain sections that are going to say, what are the reoccurring expenses?
Right.
What are those, right? And so,
Yep.
I think what I didn't realize until a couple of years ago is that these service-based businesses, these roofing companies, now I see why a lot of my friends were like doing, roofing acquisitions. I talked to a guy the other day, no, not the other day, a few months back, who's in a mastermind with me, and he bought a tree trimming company, and at the time it was doing like 3.4 million in revenue, and I think now he's about 7 million in revenue. And
Wow.
he buys equipment, expands the territory, and that's a
Yeah.
non-franchise. So it's incredible to see the revenue that's capable. At the gym here at Lifetime Gym, I talked to a guy who has a plumbing company, and he was telling me about what the revenue he does. I met another guy that has a remediation company,
Yeah.
and he's got 4 or 5 locations. It is amazing. Now you got to remember, there's going to be cost of goods sold. There's going to be all
Sure.
your expenses, and then there's going to be at the end, very end, there's going to be the profit margin. So there's kind of rules of thumbs for each of these categories. Like if you're a home builder, you're going to have kind of a rule of thumb. You're making 15 or whatever percent on selling that house on spec.
Right.
Same thing with contractors, same thing with flooring companies and so forth. So as you're digesting these franchise disclosure documents, it's really only giving you like a little piece, because you can hear a number like that, and remember, they can only make claims if it is reported on the FDD.
Right.
But these are the processes. But really, to get in and really understand, what you're gonna do as you're exploring these franchises, you're gonna get in and you're gonna call other people that own these in different markets throughout the United States.
Exactly.
That's where you're gonna really, really help people. I'm helping a gentleman do it. He's buying vending machines. So we work with a company that it's not a franchise, but it's a business opportunity. So they
Right.
don't have the same FTC requirements, but he's going through them. He's buying vending machines. So he was putting together the projections. How many, what's the average cost per vend, or what's the average vend cost? How much you make per every time somebody vends something. He was figuring about 250 per vend. How many vends per week, right? If you hit that
Yeah.
baseline, then you figure out your expenses through that. So this is as you're doing your due diligence. The worst part of getting an SBA loan is you have to do your projections. We have templates for it, but that's actually the most important thing. It's like doing your flip calculator when you're going to flip a house. Okay, here's expenses, here's the selling cost. here's the carrying cost. You're doing the same thing when you're
Mhm.
buying a franchise. And the difficult part is you're starting it from scratch, even though there's other people that have, achieved these $12 million revenues, doesn't mean
Oh,
you're going to be
no.
able
Yeah.
to do it in your market.
Yeah. The beauty of all this, you're part of the one rental at a time family. You can help people kind of look at this and have them look at the numbers. A lot of people have franchise questions. If they wanted to book a quick call with you and talk shop, how do they do that?
Just go to onerentalmeeting.com, and then one is spelled out, onerentalmeeting.com.
OneRentalMeeting.com. Folks, he created that URL just for you. Go book your 15 minutes, get your franchise questions answered. He is the concierge to small business lending. Thank you, buddy.